Oleg and Alyona are on a date in the near future in the city of Moscow. During their conversation, Oleg describes himself as a soldier taking a 2-week break. The date is successful, and they decide to stay together the entire night. In the meantime, a plane is about to touch down in Paris when all of a sudden its lights go out, and everyone on board passes out. Soon, the entire world loses power, leaving only a small portion of Eastern Europe with light. When the drones that circle Moscow suddenly stop moving, Oleg and Alyona rush to the hotel lobby to investigate. To hear the news, everyone in the building has gathered there. The anchorman explains that while initially they believed it to be a terrorist attack, they have now realized they have lost contact with the rest of the world. This wasn't a result of any natural disaster. One of the many cities that is now in darkness is Kirov, and a group of soldiers under Mayor Dolmatov are sent there on a recon mission. Olga, a journalist, travels with them to document any leads they might make. Although the government has already sent drones into this region, none of them have returned. The team explores the city before entering a store, where they use special slime lights to get a better look. They soon realize that everyone inside the store, including the fish in the bowl, is dead. They are left wondering how everyone died because there are no signs of an attack. Everything just seems to have happened suddenly and out of nowhere. Then they start looking into various apartments, where they discover everything to be in its proper place and as if nothing had happened. Once more, it appears as though everything happened in an instant and that the people just disappeared. One of the soldiers is abruptly attacked by an unknown entity. As the rest of the team rushes to aid him, the being grabs the soldier's weapon and flees through the window as soon as he notices them. The team fires right away, but the being flees as if unaffected by the gunfire. They ask the wounded soldier if he saw the face of his assailant on the way to their plane, but the darkness and the struggle made it impossible for him to see anything. After a month, the government tries to reassure the people who are still alive that more than 100 million Russians are dead. Religious organizations are assembling, though, as they believe the world is about to end. Yura, a common civilian, receives a letter asking him to enlist in the army in the meantime. Yura joins the army despite his pain at leaving his Alzheimer's-stricken mother behind, who he lives with. He observes the state of the world as he heads to the base because it only took a month for the streets to appear post-apocalyptic. Yura eventually joins Oleg's team after Dolmatov and Colonel Marina brief them on the current circumstances. The only places with electricity are in Moscow, parts of Belarus, Ukraine, and Finland, which are collectively referred to as the Circle of Life. Every city in darkness is regarded as being in quarantine. Endogenous neurotoxins, which are chemicals produced by the human body, were the cause of death in some cases when retcon teams returned with bodies. The new team's two tasks are to go deeper into the quarantine zone to gather resources because Moscow is running low and to find clues that will help scientists understand the cause of these neurotoxins. They must exercise caution because despite having tanks to protect them, many of the teams they have already sent have not returned. More volunteers show up as everyone is getting ready, and Oleg is surprised to see Alyona among them. An alarm warning of an impending attack suddenly sounds. The soldiers assemble at the base's border with the quarantine zone because it appears that a large enemy group is approaching from the nearby direction. When the base's power returns, Dolmatov starts firing flares to improve visibility. When the strange beings are close enough, the soldiers then start firing. Oleg loses consciousness as some of these creatures manage to enter the base and start attacking everyone they come across. Oleg awakens the following morning bearing the weight of a dead foe. Oleg can now see that the strange being was actually a sizable bear after Yura notices he's still alive and requests assistance moving the body. In fact, there are numerous bear corpses on the other side of the border, and no one knows why they acted in such a hostile manner. Olga is also present and is documenting everything for the news. When Oleg is brought to the hospital, he is shocked to learn that Alyona is a doctor. She tends to his wounds and gives him a kiss of consolation when he is in pain. In the meantime, Marina and Dolmatov talk about the Censors, a group of people who are said to have acquired special abilities following the blackout. In contrast to popular belief, Sensors can actually receive data in their minds similarly to how radios do, according to Marina. They haven't been able to understand the data or how this occurred, though. Sasha, who is being kept in a military hospital, is the strongest sensor. He has been having frequent nightmares about a mysterious bald man ever since the blackout. Genya, who claims to have been sent by a man named ID, is currently paying him a visit. The third wave will cause anyone still alive in the quarantine zone to attack them, he says, after the first two waves destroyed all electronics and biological organisms, and the second wave caused all electronics to self-destruct. They are numerous and have lost their ability to exercise free will, but they still have time to do so. Sasha calls for security because she doesn't want to be involved in this. But the soldiers are unable to see Genya and inform the doctor that Sasha is hallucinating. The remaining soldiers prepare for the task. Olga asks Yura some questions for the camera as they travel together. Yura acknowledges that he is content with his current circumstances because they have given his life meaning and are preferable to driving a taxi. When they arrive at the quarantine zone, they find the tanks destroyed on the ground and a chasm that cuts through the structures, indicating that the third wave has already started. The footage of this devastation sends the city's remaining population into a panic, sparking riots and a rise in crime. People suspect their leaders are hiding something, despite the government's assurances that they are working on it. To cover more ground, the soldiers are divided into groups. Group 7 includes Yura and Olga, and as they move through the woods, a flirtatious tension develops between them. Oleg, who has been recovered, joins Team 4 as they explore a small town. A group of metal bars fell on top of one of the soldiers when he opened a storage room, breaking his leg. The group decides to take it easy inside a house until help arrives. The soldier must travel back to Moscow with Aliwan if he wants to avoid losing his leg, she says when she gets there the following morning. Yura notices something odd about a store while Group 7 is eating breakfast. Group 7 also spent the night inside an apartment. He confirms that the doors weren't opened when they arrived by checking Olga's recording. After entering the store and discovering evidence that someone was there, Yura and a few soldiers decide to set up some traps. The traps won't go off until night falls, so they go back to the apartment and wait for that to happen. Everyone prepares to leave, but Yura instructs Olga to stay inside and uses the flares to signal for assistance if they don't return. Olga ultimately defies Yura's orders and continues to follow the team in order to take notes. They discover a teenager who was hurt by the traps inside the store. They try to help him by bringing him inside the apartment, but the boy responds by stealing a knife and murdering a soldier. The others shoot him down right away in response. In the meantime, Sasha goes to the hospital roof for some fresh air and is abruptly startled by ID, the man Genya told him about. Genya and ID had only ever communicated mentally, but ID is now present and needs Sasha's assistance. In order to convince Sasha that he is aware of what is happening, ID displays his face and admits he is inhuman. At that precise moment, Marina arrives with several soldiers who are pointing their weapons at ID when all of a sudden, the soldiers turn their weapons on Marina. ID warns her not to try anything because he used his mental abilities to make the soldiers mistakenly believe she was ID and he was Marina. He also professes to be on Marina's side and warns her that he and millions of others are on their way to annihilate humanity. ID responds that people would view him as a god when Marina inquires as to what he is. ID is taken to Marina's office where she questions him. ID explains that he had intended to begin an irradiation procedure when the moon was above the oceans, but he erred because the moon was covering this region of Europe and shielding it from radiation. Because of how the circle of life came to be, each person in the quarantine area is merely a mindless drone that will soon launch an attack. The reason the race of ID needs Earth is that their own star is about to expire, and they need a new home with a sun to live in. Then he reveals that there was a wave 0 that occurred thousands of years ago. This wave consisted of the human race, which was actually an alien bioweapon sent to wipe out Earth's native population. Because they were much more advanced than the current native population, they were the ones who constructed the pyramids and underwater cities. As colonizers and destroyers who share a lot of DNA with ID's people but have been devoid of psychic abilities, humans make the ideal bioweapon. Some people, including Sasha, are getting them back as a result of the unintended radiation. ID's brother RA is already here, but an army from ID's planet will arrive tomorrow. ID disagrees with his tactics and seeks him out, but only Sasha is aware of his whereabouts thanks to his dreams. All of the teams are suddenly attacked by mind-controlled people in the interim. The enemy arrives in large numbers and attacks without difficulty, killing the majority of the teams and causing them to run out of ammunition as the soldiers open fire and do their best to form a line of defense. Yura asks Olga to fire the flare when the apartment they're hiding in blows up, but because most teams are acting in the same way, there aren't enough resources to assist everyone. The few members of Group 7 who are still alive will currently wait on a building's roof so they are safe from the attackers. A message informing Marina of the attack cuts off their conversation, and ID remarks that they are wasting their time. As Genya and Sasha fly to the base with the two of them, ID explains that he is immortal as long as no one chooses to kill him. When they arrive at the base, ID hypnotizes Sasha, who is able to draw a picture of Ra's location, a skyscraper in Kirov. ID wants to activate the remaining tropes right away, but Dalmatov is unsure of whether to believe him after seeing ID's appearance. As soon as a soldier announces that Moscow is also under attack, Marina persuades Dalmatov that ID is their only hope. Returning to Group 7, they make the decision to descend the structure in an effort to locate the teams that failed to send any flares. Yura kisses Olga to calm her down and gently lowers her because she is afraid to try. They come across a few civilians as they are walking through the streets and kill them without even speaking to them. They appear to be in good health, so Olga is upset, but Yura explains that the teenage boy initially appeared to be in good health as well. A fresh wave of drone humans attacks them as if to support his claim. All the other soldiers are killed, but Yura is able to repel the attackers despite suffering injuries. They take care of Yura's wound and locate a car with gas and keys that they can use to flee as they run to hide inside a garage. Sasha admits at the base that he is afraid to leave because he is certain RA saw him in the vision, and ID agrees to let him stay behind for his safety. Sasha is missing when Dalmatov's team departs in the tanks, and Marina commands everyone to stop when she notices it. The base is suddenly attacked by a barrage of rockets, which cause it to explode. ID acknowledges that Marina is correct as she points a gun at him in a fit of rage. The team would have perished instead, and the war would not have been won if Sasha had been with them. Yura and Olga locate Oleg and Aliwan the following morning. There aren't many people left on their team, and they are out of ammunition. Fortunately, Dalmatov's team comes across them shortly after and invites them to join the effort to kill RA. Olga and Aliona will need to accompany us because there isn't a base where we can send them. The team reaches Kirov after a number of hours. ID explains that RA believes he died at the base, and Dalmatov expresses surprise that they aren't being attacked. The drone humans are blocking the streets, and some of them are launching bombs from above. The army simply advances with the tanks, shooting or destroying any adversaries who attempt to stop them. When they reach the skyscraper, ID takes Yura and a few soldiers to the rooftop while the rest of the group defends the entrance. Oleg takes the civilians upstairs as well because they are unsure how long they will be able to keep up with the fight, which is absolutely vicious. ID and the soldiers confront any intruders inside before meeting RA on the rooftop. RA simply pushes Yura away and leaves him hanging on the edge as he tries to attack RA. The next time ID attacks RA, the two are fighting fairly evenly until Yura returns to the roof and a loud explosion is heard in the streets. RA is then distracted, and ID uses the opportunity to attack him directly and remove a device from inside Ra's body. RA is finally killed when Yura intervenes and throws a grenade into the gap that is created. ID can now release every human under his control using his abilities. Since humans were created to kill, he declares that the next step is to kill the aliens who are arriving in the spaceship. Aliona and Marina object to the way ID is using humans, and Genya wonders why ID didn't warn them of all this before the blackout. Genya attacks ID with a knife after ID claims to be the god humans deserve, but ID uses his abilities to make him kill Marina instead. Furious, Oleg tries to attack ID as well, but Yura defends him by saying that ID is their only defense against the approaching invasion. Yura and Oleg start fighting, and when Olga sees that Yura is injuring Oleg, she grabs a gun and shoots Yura to get him to stop. Genya makes another attempt to kill ID, but ID easily repels him. Oleg considers killing Yura but decides to shoot ID instead, but the shots have no effect. Oleg is hesitant because ID uses his abilities to make everyone seem like their father to him. Genya, who is a sensor, is able to identify the real ID and jumps to bring him down with him. Upon touching the ground, they both instantly pass away. A massive spacecraft makes an immediate landing on a number of structures. Oleg refuses to kill Yura and instead takes the gadget ID took from RA and the women. The group enters the spaceship after taking some weapons from dead bodies. The spaceship had opened the door because RA was nearby. Numerous aliens are sleeping in pods inside, and when Oleg presses the device, oxygen begins to be delivered to those pods. The timer on the pods indicates they will be ready soon, so it appears RA was meant to wake them up. However, they don't have enough ammo or time to kill them all. They try shooting at them and confirm that it does kill them. Olga notices that the oxygen pipes are on the ground. Destroying one of them results in the simultaneous death of numerous aliens. The invasion is effectively stopped when the trio starts destroying every pipe they can. Aliona freezes as she is about to destroy the final pipe when she realizes that these final pods contain children. When Oleg notices the children leaving the pods, he drops his weapon to the ground because he is unable to harm the children's fellow creatures.